It's the ESCtips.com Eurovision Road to Vienna podcast. Eurovision Weg nach Wien podcast. Warning. No Wiener jokes will be permitted during this broadcast.
Join us as we sort the contenders from the duds with our adept panel of Eurovision experts.
Yes, it's that time again. We're back. Well, I'm back for the last of our semi-final podcast of 2015. The journey to Vienna is nearly complete, and apart from the automatic qualifiers, all that's left to discuss is the second half of semi-final 2. And as it's me in the hot seat again, it means we have two guests to help guide us through this tricky end to semi-final 2. First up, we welcome writer, broadcaster, punk rocker, music expert and TV quiz maestro, Roy Delaney. Welcome, Roy.
All right. Hello.
All right. How are you? You all right?
I'm not too bad, thanks. I'm looking at the sunshine out the window.
So, have you got any quizzes coming up, Roy?
No, I'm having a lapse. I did my last one on the Chase a couple of months ago, and I'm having a bit of rest for a while.
So, next up we have one of the most talkative Eurovision bloggers. He is a BAFTA-nominated broadcaster, Forbes mobile technology writer, co-founder of ESC Insight, and the hand that animates Television. Please welcome Ewan Spence. Hello, Ewan.
I have nothing to do with Television. He's his own person. That's nothing to do with me. That's not how things work. It sounds like I've actually done something with my life when you describe it like that.
How does it feel to be slumming it on the ESCtips podcast?
It's not a slum. The slums have given us some of the best music in the world. They've given us some of the best art. They've given us some of the best depictions. If it wasn't for the slum in West Side Story, we wouldn't have Michael Bay as a filmmaker. So we have a lot to be thankful for the slums, which is why I'm so glad to be on the other side of a microphone or of a review podcast.
Brilliant. Well, that audition you passed, so you can come back next time. Anyway, so we've got quite a bit to get through, not that much time, so let's get on to the second half of semi-final 2, and the running order is as follows. First up, we have Nadav Guedj from Israel with Golden Boy. For Latvia, we have Aminata with Love Injection. Azerbaijan's Elnur sings Hour of the Wolf. Iceland sends Maraaya Olafs with Unbroken. Zelmerlow with Heroes for Sweden. Switzerland's Melanie Rene with Time to Shine. Cyprus sent John Karayiannis with One Thing I Should Have Done Is Make This Title Shorter. And Maraaya is in the penultimate slot for Slovenia with Here For You. And last up, Poland sent Monika Kuszyńska with In the Name of Love. So, starting with Israel, Roy, is Nadav going for gold?
It's not very good, but it's likeable. Even though it's three songs stay put together, I like it, but it's poorly likeable.
Okay, Ewan?
It's rather like that horrible year after Bob Monkhouse left the Golden Shot. It's got all the right elements. It's just not really working. I mean, Nadav's lovely and energetic.
Norman for Charlie Williams.
Exactly. That's where we're going for. He is the Israeli Charlie Williams. It's just, it's almost there, but it's not quite right. There's just. And we have to take into consideration Israel have sent better songs and didn't get the votes. They've sent much more technical songs. They've sent much more poppy and modern songs. They don't have a huge amount of support. So in terms of getting out of the semi-final, I think Israel are in a really, really tough spot with this song because it's fluff. And when we look at what song comes next and then the song after that, there's every chance that it's just going to get blown out the water.
And I think that's the key thing here. It's always what's coming after.
In the middle of a big run of slow stuff, so it is going to stand out like a sore thumb. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know.
I just think towards the end of the running order, once you've then got, following this, you've got Elnur, you've then got Mons, you've then got John Karayiannis. I think all of those could potentially steal the male vote. So any kind of cuteness that Israel might possess, I think that's going to be lost by the time we get to the end of the running order. But I think the arrangement is so disjointed. I don't think it lends itself to the juries, and I think it would be far too easy to rank around the 10th position mark. So yes, while they might just scrape through on the jury score, it'll be the televote score that ultimately gives them much lower points than maybe what they... Well, I don't think it's deserving of high points, to be honest with you. And plus, it just lacks friends. And I think the later songs will kill it off.
Oh, different kind of friends. Sorry.
So, what do we think? Non-qualifier?
Dead in the water, yeah.
I think qualifier. I think a near miss, just a near scrape. I think this is qualifying.
Yeah. So Roy thinks possibly creeping in 10th, maybe 9th if the night goes well. But it's also worth mentioning we haven't seen staging yet. He might just blow us all away. So it's always worth keeping open-minded at this point. So on to Latvia now. Ewan, does Aminata inject you with love?
Personally, no. Having been at the Supernova National Final, I still wish that they'd sent the Beaver instead. But there's... and here's the thing, and I know that you and I have discussed this, Gavin. As a solo performer on stage, she has no charisma and she struggles to connect with the audience. Okay. And I find her very hard. You and I both know that there's a way to stage this song. And if she does stage this song with the dancer that was shown in January, this is a surefire qualifier. This is a song that's haunting, it's very memorable, but it takes a long time to stick in your brain. It needs multiple listens, it needs something immediate, and that has to come from choreography. Latvia actually have qualification in their hands. The question is whether they use what we know they have.
And Ewan is referring to the Avik Parkour choreography that was published on YouTube some time ago. There was an interview, actually, I think, with Wee Wee Blogs or ESCtips that suggested that she wasn't going with that choreography. She was going to stay in national final form, but we never know how certain those interviews are and whether they're keeping something back. But as one person said to me, why would they lie? Roy, would you prefer a Latvian beaver?
Well, I don't tell the missus, but no.
The missus was watching you with that beaver.
Yes, she was. Yeah, I like you when I was at Supernova, but I was the other way around. I was absolutely captivated by her. I thought she's got a really easy charm, and if she's singing that straight down the camera pipe, I mean, she could be one to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. It's still one of the few goosebump songs for me, and having uploaded the official album to my car, it's the one that really engages me. Vocally, I think Aminata is top 5. There's such clarity to her voice, and those rasps when she really belts it out during the chorus, I think that's something the jurors will definitely take note of. It is a bit alternative. I don't think it's too esoteric. I still think it has wide enough appeal. I did originally think when it came out that it might do something similar to Sus from 2012, Albania's entry. But I do think it needed the choreography to take it that extra step further. But I'm still open-minded. I still think, like Roy says, there's something special about this girl, more so than perhaps Melanie Rene later on in the running order. And I think this song has just more about it, more thrust. It imprints itself more on your memory, I think.
A song that without the choreography, I think, is in 8th to 12th. So it depends on the notes. I think with the choreography, with more storytelling, with a, if they could bring the same energy and mystery and power from the vocals and put that into a visual element, I think they would have a really good package. And I would be saying it would be, 6th to 10th. But the sort of stand there and just film it like it's a live concert when you've only got 3 minutes, when it's such a layered song, it requires so much thinking. I just think that they need that by not giving it a visual element, they're just not creating a package.
I get what you're saying now. I think the front-on performance, why
do you vote for this? Because it sounds a bit like Kate Bush, or because you would really engage with the visuals?
Well, I find myself engaged with the melody, the song, the power of it.
The first time round?
Yeah, definitely. The first time I saw it, I had to double-check. It was Latvia that was sending this song. I think she actually needs to look at the camera more and maybe throw the odd smile. I think she's very aloof.
I think she tells the story with her eyes. I don't think she needs any dancing or choreography.
The problem with telling it with the eyes is if they're just filming it as a music concert, this is going to be the number which ORF are likely to put in huge camera sweeps across the audience, lots of steady cam pulls from either side of the stage, and you don't see the eyes.
Yeah, it definitely dividing opinion, this song. So the jury's out, so to speak. So next up we have Elnur from Azerbaijan with the song Hour of the Wolf. Roy, you're up first. Could Azerbaijan's wolf bite back this year?
Well, there's always a chance. I mean, you've got to count them in for being top 10, whatever they send. They could send an old man jumping on a plank and they'd be top 10, you should imagine.
But last year they didn't.
Vote for that.
Yeah.
But this is true. Yeah. It's the kind of song though that only really exists at Eurovision. It's not something you hear much of outside. And I quite liked the video when I originally saw it, but I saw a clip of his performance at I think it was the Latvian preview party, and it just seemed leaden, and he was just more interested in riffing along on the song than he was in singing it. So it all depends which Elnur turns up, I think. It's definitely got the meat to qualify.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's a winner.
Yeah, Ewan, what do you think?
I think qualification is on for this one. It's the thing about this is there's nothing wrong with it. You know, if a jury sits down and goes, "Why would we mark this down?" There's very little to mark it down from. But at the same time, we've not seen anything more than a clinical performance from Elnur. We've not seen that sort of. Yeah, to give you an example. The first time I saw Bruce Springsteen on stage, before I'd seen him live, it was just like, he's nice, he does good songs. But there was something about when he walked out on stage, it was just like, oh, that's why he's called the boss. There are some performers that can just utterly capture the stage, and that includes capturing the camera. I've not seen that from Elnur. So what we have is we have a technically competent clinical song, but it doesn't have that, for want of a better description, it doesn't have any flair behind it.
The kind of thing that will attract a jury more than it will a punter vote then. So then he can get in his votes from the jury.
So it's nice and safe and qualified, gets through, but it's not going to trouble the podium.
When it first came out, I did think it could be a potential contender. I still think it can if it has the right staging, and the one good thing about this song is that it lends itself to something quite magnificent on staging, and that's if Azerbaijan can be bothered. There are plenty of reports that suggest that they've lost focus on Eurovision. They're not too fussed about it now. Time will tell. And I think the fact that they're doing the tours, they're getting involved, shows that they're interested. I think the fact that they're still buying Swedish songs shows that they've got an interest in it. And I think the juries will still recognise this as a high-quality song if he can tame his vocals. I do think in Riga he was only giving maybe 70% and was just, as Roy said, riffing along the song. I think the Eurovision stage will ground him. He will have a routine rather than closing his eyes and just singing to himself as he did in Riga. I think he'll put on a good performance. I think it should be a solid top 10. The song's too good not to be top 10. Far more interesting than last year's guff. But I think the stage show will make or break this. I think that will tell us whether it's a top 5, top 4 song, or whether it's just going to be low-end top 10.
There's certainly space in here to do some trading if you're smart and can decide very quickly what way it's going to go. As for Swedish songs, I think they've just got one of those little coffee cards that you get. You get a stamp every time you buy a coffee. I think that the Swedish Songwriters Association has it. So
they've got a loyalty card with Sweden.
Yeah, they've got 8 so far. If they get 2 more, they get a free song.
Right, it's time to leave the East and make an expensive trip over to Iceland. This time they send Maraaya Olafs with Unbroken. Ewan, does Maraaya sound like a broken record?
She doesn't sound like a broken record, though, because nobody knows what a broken record sounds like anymore. It's all CD skipping and everything. Iceland made the best choice they could for a contemporary number. There's an argument that Feathers would have been a more powerful number to send to Eurovision in terms of visual presence. But what we have here is the Manic Pixie Dream Girl pop song. She's not got anything on her feet. She's got a dress that's slightly distressed. She'll have 2 singers behind her. You could probably close your eyes and this would just look like every single Danish entry that you've ever seen in terms of presentation. But the Danes are actually quite good at that sort of presentation. I don't think this is challenging for the victory, but I do think that it's such a comfortable song. It's back that sort of same argument. The jury are going to struggle to find a reason to downvote this song. So it's another Eurovision song that's designed to get out the semi-finals, and then it doesn't matter anymore because it's got to the Saturday night, so RUV will get the viewing figures. And I've mentioned this in my podcast, and I say mention, I went on an absolutely huge rant. I don't like my Eurovision songs being safe. I want them to challenge. I want them to go up and take a risk. And Iceland doesn't take a risk this year.
I agree with that, yeah. But before I invite Roy in, just to challenge that Manic Pixie Dream Girl thing, because I actually sent a tweet out earlier this week, and it's funny you should mention that I thought people were getting too obsessed with this Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and it came out after Emily de Forest won. And I just don't think Maria occupies the same territory. I don't think she's as sure-footed as Emily de Forest.
She does in the official video, so again, we're down to a staging question here.
And that's it. And if you go back to the national final, she wasn't as competent, I don't think. I think her vocals lend themselves to being under pressure in a live situation. And I think the Eurovision jury rehearsal might just see a few cracks in the Iceland package. Another couple of issues I have is just how repetitive the song is. I found it a very long 2 minutes. The chorus is that repetitive that the third minute is almost superfluous. And I think there's a certain amount of fatigue and restlessness that might creep into many viewers. You know, we've just heard the 2 minutes. What's she bringing us new here? I don't think she is offering anything new. So yeah, it very much depends on the staging with this one again, because if it is very much like the national final, where it's very much dominated by Maria singing the same line over and over, it'll qualify, yeah, because Iceland have a great qualification record, I think. But I don't think it'll do much in the final. I think we're looking at a big fan wank this year, to coin a phrase.
Do you think this is really a fan song? It could be anywhere between 8th and 14th in the semi-final. It's not grabbing anyone, especially by any particular soft parts, but no one really hates it, which means it could be everybody's 11th favourite.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. It is middle of the road, which is actually good in this new rankings era. I think if you stand out too much, it's very easy for people to punish you. Hence why I suppose the quality has improved, but we haven't got a very distinctive lineup of songs this year.
I think it's very well constructed. It's a nicely put together song, but it's kind of like the bonus track on CD3 of a Taylor Swift collectible singles set. It's nothing that it's nothing you'd really go, wow, I want to own this and play it for the rest of my life.
I think it's still missing 2 verses.
Yeah.
I think the other problem we have is we have to look at this in context. It has Azerbaijan running before it, which we assume will have some sort of stunning stage performance. It has Sweden running after it, and it will no longer be a stickman, but it's going to be the same sort of gimmick. Either side of it, it has 2 powerful male voices with huge domination on the stage. Now, because this is a producer-decided running order, and they're insistent on this sawtooth method of we must have contrast every 3 minutes rather than just letting it flow through. I wonder, because they've seen what the staging is, I suspect Iceland are sending literally a girl in a spotlight.
Yeah.
A girl with a weak voice in a spotlight. And I think it's just going to look wrong. We're going to go from Latvia, which is just wowzers, whatever it is, and pierce the eyes, and then stunning from Azerbaijan, and then from Iceland, and then stunning from Sweden. Who's going to remember Iceland?
Do you not think, though, they're going to have the pretend band standing behind waving their hands in front of guitars? I think this feels like it's built for a pretend band.
Looking at backing singers doesn't get you any votes.
Now they said the dancers were going, but they appeared in the official video, so I'm unsure on that one. What is the talk on that?
Irrespective, I think that there's going to be such a standard stage show between 2 stunning numbers that I think that memory-wise, it's going to be tough to go, oh, what was the Iceland song again?
Yeah, it's a very clear point, actually, and it's something that has been brought up on ESCtips comments section, that almost Iceland is the filling to an ice cream sandwich, Azerbaijan and Sweden providing the wafer.
I like wafers.
Well, there we go. We're not so clean on the ice cream then, are we? Okay, on to the current market leader from Sweden. Roy, is Måns Zelmerlow your hero?
He's no real hero of mine, but you can't deny it's a hell of a show, and it's a song just it's built to grab you for 3 minutes and throw you around the stage with your eyes glued to him. There has been a traditional curse of the pre-contest favourites, though. Would be surprised if he's not top 5 upwards. He's got that winning charm, cheeky look. The boys and the girls are like him, and the song's singable. So you will have it in your head for a while, and it's the one that Mrs. Roy hates the most. So that usually means it's going to do all right.
Ewan, top 5 for you?
Top 1 for me.
Top 1. He's the winner, is he?
I think the story of this year's Eurovision is going to go either of 2 ways. Either Sweden is going to absolutely romp it by 150 points, or we're going to have a very close contest between 5 or 6 countries. First of all, Sweden is qualifying. I think that's without a doubt. Yeah. That's through. I think on the Saturday night, people watching at home need a key image to remember something from anything they watch at home. Yeah. And their key image is going to be that guy who danced with the man on the screen. And it's going to be arresting and force you to watch the screen when it comes on, wherever it is in the running order. It's going to remind you like a steaming train when it comes to the recap.
So how would that sit with you? Let's say Sweden got a first half draw, and
then they will sing 11th.
Okay, fair enough. No, that's fine.
Chuck them in second, test them out.
I think ORF are going to be very traditional. I think they're gonna follow the Val Parnell rules of how to make a running order. You put your favourite third last, you put your second favourite last, and you treat the top half and the bottom half as a separate show. If Sweden are drawn in top half, I believe they will sing 11th. If they're drawn in the bottom half, I believe they will sing 25th, because that's how you producer led running order goes. And the thing is, people at home, they're going to remember one thing when they go to pick up the phone. And I believe that the thing they're going to pick up is that bloke who danced to the thing on the screen. And that will be Sweden. And this is, Roy's right, it's a 3-minute song, throws you around the screen. But it's a 3-minute song that's clinically designed to go, remember this when the time comes to vote. If Mans pull this off...
Look at the most recent winners. They've all got winning moments like that. They've all got the toot flute from Denmark. They've all got the Olsons smiling at the camera. They've all got something that makes you, like you say, anchors your memory. And I think you're back right with this.
Just to play devil's advocate here, because
you don't want to go to Gothenburg next year.
I don't want to go back to Sweden, but I will, obviously. I don't discount Sweden from winning, but I also speak to a group of people that don't think Sweden will win. And there are a couple of reasons why. Do you think it's a bit too clinical? Do you think it's too calculated? Do you think that on staging alone, yes, the staging works, but what about the song? How will the juries mark the song? When I first heard this, I did rush to the bookies, but that's because I thought it stood a chance of winning Melody Festival. But actually, the people that I was speaking to, and these are also pro-Sweden people now, they were a bit, ooh, is this a winner? Is it? They're still unsure. So on song alone, I'm not sure it has that feeling of a winner. But when it's matched up with its staging, yes, I would argue that there is a competent package there. There's something there that tends to do well at Eurovision. I accept that. Top 5 lock for sure. But then, how many... If we were going back last year, and we were going to Eurovision, and we were thinking, okay, yeah, Sweden again. But then all of a sudden something else happened. We had 2 more staging gimmicks, and that kind of reset the order. We've still got 39 other songs with 39 other potential gimmicks. Who's to say that the same thing won't happen?
Last year, the hook was Beard. And to be honest, let's be fair here, I never rated Sanna last year. If you're talking about fan wank, you will not find a bigger, more statuesque Swedish blonde suitable for a fan wank than Sanna. And I think we always said that Conchita's biggest issue last year was if she gets out the semi-finals, she gets the media, she gets the attention, she's on every single breakfast show, she gets the momentum, and she's away. Yeah. Nobody this year, I think, has that ability to stand up and grab the momentum. So I think we're in the same sort of year that we had in Malmo. And everything you said about the song, it's clinical. You take it away from the presentation. It's very dry. It's very basic. It's going through the motions. To me, you actually described only teardrops.
Yep.
Yes. Right. So I suppose it's time to move on to Switzerland now. And
Really? Oh.
Melanie Rene's Time to Shine. Ewan, will Melanie Rene have time to shine in the final?
No. Next.
Pretty much my review.
I mean, look, every time I listen to it, I think, there are better things I could be doing with this 3 minutes of my life. I could be listening to the Finnish song twice. I could be listening to 16 Napalm Death albums. I could be reading a nice short story by Philip K. Dick about recursive commonality and the fact that it leads to stability and decays an entire society. And, I would still have the spare vocal capacity to go, see that Switzerland? It's like audio wallpaper from the 70s. It just reminds me of chipboard wallpaper with little floral patterns, and somewhere Reg Varney is actually doing a comedy gig to go on the buses, and they've just been at a holiday camp, and you look at the wallpaper on the wall of Maplin's, and you just think, time to shine.
Do you think she sells it well, though? Because
No.
I think that's the strength of the song. Before the national final, when we only had the audio versions to go by, I don't think anyone picked this song out. I certainly didn't.
Not at all.
It was, as you described it, Maplin wallpaper, as far as I'm concerned. But during the final, all of a sudden, Melanie Rene came on screen and really sold this song. So at that point in the running order, number 14, with 3 songs to come afterwards, does Melanie really stand a chance of selling this song into the final?
No, because Ross was talking about Sweden.
It's the kind of song that comes accidentally last. No one really hates it, but whoever remembers it. It's like a sixth form college music project end of term report, really, isn't it? Bless her.
So that will be your press interview. Oh, bless you.
That's about the size of it.
Thanks for coming. So on that relatively short exchange, it's time to move on. So we're nearly at the end. And third from last is John Karayiannis with One Thing I Should Have Done. Roy, is John the next Tom Dice?
Well, I think more the next Lisa Andreas. I think that there's always a simple song that's sung sweetly that does really, really well in this show.
Yeah.
And the songwriter, Mike Canaris, has form with this. This is the kind of thing that no one sees coming and finishes top 5. If it gets out of its semi, which I think it should, this is the one your nan at home's going to love, because he's a sweetheart. And there's a moment where it stops briefly, and if the inflatable squeaky hammers down the front don't start making a noise, when that stops, that should be towards the end of the song. That should be just a hairs up the back of your neck moment.
Yeah, it's a hold the breath moment, isn't it?
I really think this could do some business. I don't think it's a winner, but this will be your top 5 that you never saw coming.
This song, every 60 seconds it gets stronger every minute.
Aha!
Now, there's another reason for that, not just for the cunning pun with Roy, but also it's the same production team that was behind Andreas' number that is also behind this number. And the thing that impresses me about this is, if you look back at the national final performance, they staged this as a duet. But rather than have a second person on stage, they had a blank space in the camera frame. John was singing to his lover that wasn't there. And the underlying language used in there helps build the connection. He's singing to empty space. He's looking at empty space. The song tells a story, but the visuals tell the same story as well. And it's sung really well. And yes, if they drop all the instrumentation, if they just leave him to do the clean vocals, and you can hear the pin drop in the stadium, that's the point where every single woman watching the show just goes, you know what, I just want to give him a hug.
I thought that, blimey.
Now, Roy, we know a song about that. That disqualifies.
Yes.
And
Easily.
And it is. And here's the thing, though. It could be top 10, but it needs the production team to realise that it's actually a winning song. If the production team think that it's just filler, then it will be used in the way that Iceland's been used in the semi-final to bracket Azerbaijan and Sweden, put a bit of gap in there and let you go put the coffee on. There's a danger that Cyprus becomes the put the kettle on song rather than that we think this song can do well. This is one of the major issues that I have with the production.
So is it a Tom Dice surprise, or is it a by Alex surprise? Are we looking more towards bottom end of top 10, or are we looking at a real shock in the top 4?
It literally depends on if the producers think this is a winning song. If the producers think this is a winning song, it will be put in a running order as if it is a song that has a chance. If the producers don't see it as a winning song, it will be used as the ice cream inside our chocolate wafer.
No, I think this is a Johansen Hasselgaard. These are Andreas. This is just that quiet song that just charges up the table.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, strong stuff.
I think it needs it. And I think it has the ability to do it. But modern Eurovision puts far more barriers in its way than, say, the Olsen brothers had in its way. If this had been if we were still doing a random running order draw, I would comfortably say top 10 nearing top 5. But because we're a producer deciding, it comes down to where do you put Cyprus in the running order, and my fear is that producers will treat this as ice cream.
I think the one thing it does do very successfully is send Israel down the memory hole, because you have quite powerful males coming afterwards. You've got Elnur, then you've got Mons, and now you've got John. And I think after John, I think Israel becomes very forgetful, even though it's upbeat.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's time for Slovenia, and Maria is here for you. Ewan, are you here for Maria?
I'm not here for Maraaya, no, because I'm not sponsored by Beats headphones with my own special logo on them. But I like this as a contest song. This sounds modern. It is modern. It's doing incredibly well in the charts, and there's just something perky about the presentation and the lyrics for this song. I think this will be the one that people will still look at. Should be assuming that this qualifies. It should. But it's probably going to be in the 5 to 10 space in the semi-final too. And I hate to say this is a perfect opener for the Saturday night. Yes.
Yeah, potentially is, but I think the EBU have probably got other ideas for it. And I think it's kind of unfair because it has been positioned in the running order to make sure it qualifies, and there's a sense the EBU are indirectly using the producer's decided running order to aid.
No, it's only to create the best show. It's nothing at all to do with the contest. There's in no way. No, it's all to do with making the best show for the viewer. That's a fact. And you can take that to your Swiss bank, Gavin.
I think Slovenia, they got their plum draw last year, and I look upon other countries that maybe should have or are more deserving of a bit of help. And I kind of expected Latvia to get the late draw. Slovenia, I don't think, are in need of it, even though they do lack support and won't earn as much. They won't have as much credit in the bank from the viewers than something later in the running order. Personally, I think Slovenia could have qualified from 12th or 13th with this song. Yeah. They didn't need this late draw, just like Romania didn't need the late draw in the other one.
Especially as there's so few upbeat songs in this semi. This is the class upbeat song in this semi-final. I think it kind of needed to be there towards the end, just like Ewan suggested, to bring the show up a bit, so you've got something a bit beatsy before.
I think I was trying to be ironic, Roy.
I know. but in all honesty, I think it is there to just kind of perk it up again a bit before the end. It's the tester to see if Slovenia really is that unpopular. Because if they can't qualify with this, they've had it, to be honest. It's got that big Paloma Faith voice thing going on. It's up-tempo, beatsy, likeable. If this don't qualify, I mean, they might as well pack up and go home.
Yeah, I think it qualifies easily. In the final, I'm less confident. I think it has been overrated in the betting markets over the last few weeks, and it's gradually starting to edge towards a more sensible price of around 40 to 1. I think that's what it is, about a 40 to 1 shot.
What do you think that was, though? Just one or two big bets of excitement?
I think people were getting too excited about it, and I think there's not enough to take away from this song to make it a contender. I think if you listen to another few songs after it, you'll still think, well, what was the chorus? You know, can I hum along to that song? I'm not quite sure you can after a couple of other songs following it. But then also, I think the whole headphone wearing image and the air violinist, I think that's a bit jarring.
I want to punch that violinist.
There you go. That's exactly it.
Don't need that.
So I think we should move on to the last song now. We have Poland and Monika Kuszyńska with "In the Name of Love." Roy, will Monika roll over the competition in this semi?
That was a bit near the knuckle. On the song alone, it's a nice, happy-go-lucky, sweet-faced ballad that should do all right ordinarily. But I just think this is a bit like John Olasand's Wet Dream, in the fact you've got a fit-looking bird in a wheelchair to cancel out the unsympathetic-looking Finns. I think this is... there were a lot of people who were moaning a lot about PKN being there and it's only a sympathy vote. Whereas funny enough, people aren't with this one. And I think the video is far more exploitative. I'm not begrudging her being there at all. She's a good singer with a good background and a nice song.
Well, her Riga performance might contest that point, actually.
Oh, really? No, I haven't seen a Riga performance. Was it poor?
It was a bit ropey. Certainly not deserving of a last slot in the running order.
Well, I genuinely think it's there to kind of counteract some Finnish action. It's just so that people... that may be me being a tad cynical, but why isn't this a sympathy vote when the Finns are a historic punk band with dozens of singles behind them? I'd say that I shouldn't really compare and contrast with the two songs because they're totally different entities, but there's just something about this that bugs me. And it's not Monika herself. I think it's the whole idea behind getting her in there and putting her at the end. Call me a bad man for saying that, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really focus on the wheelchair aspect, but I just think it's a poor, flat ending to the show. When you could have sent it out with an upbeat song, or at least just something that has, you could have given it to Cyprus if you wanted something slow, and at least then you'd have had something memorable right at the end rather than a bit of a flat ballad.
You see, there is an argument in terms of running order that you put a coda song at the end, and rather than always go for the big smash high energy finish. I think the problem they have this year is there's not enough high energy songs, and by high energy I mean anything over 64 beats per minute. So you have to do it as a coda, and you have to. And Roy's right. You have to ask, why do you put this at the end? And we have to remember. Roy's mentioned we have PK in there. We have Monika here. We also have Bianca from the UK who has cystic fibrosis. It would not surprise me if we have another two performers who have some form of disability that we just can't see. So it's hard to get past. And again, we're down to the staging question. Will we know that she is paralysed on the stage, or will she just pop up there and be put on a stool like a sort of latter-day Nicole? Will they make a big deal of it or not? And if they do, is there going to be a backlash from the audience? Really hard to answer all of that. And it's just the sort of ballad that Luxembourg would send in 1993. It does nothing for Eurovision. It's utterly 100% safe. And every time I look at Monika, I actually just see Keely Hawes in Ashes to Ashes. And I just think, you've woken up, you've been shot as a cop, and you've just ended up on stage at Eurovision.
Yeah, I think it's actually very similar to Greece, Greece's ballad. These two songs are both songs that I skip in the car. I can't bear to listen to them. So that's it for all of the songs for the semi-finals this year. As Andy did this at the end of Semi-Final 1 podcast, I feel it's only right to ask you guys, can you give me your rough 7 non-qualifiers, obviously, with the subject to rehearsals cracks included?
I reckon we're going to lose Montenegro, we're going to lose Portugal, Czech Republic I think is in borderline danger, Iceland's gone, Switzerland might as well not turn up, San Marino's iffy, and my one suspicion of a song that everyone fancies is going to get through that isn't. I think Lithuania's going to be in trouble. There's just something a bit disjointed about that, and it makes me think it ain't quite going to do it.
Ewan?
I think Lithuania's actually okay, because even though those two have as much charisma and ability to be in the same room as Sinead and Evergreen, they can actually put on a relatively good 3-minute stage performance. I think in terms of ones that I would be happy to put money on now, I would say Israel, Switzerland, San Marino, Portugal, and Czech Republic might as well just get the next flight home. But choosing the next two I'm finding really, really difficult. I think I'm going to plump for Ireland and Malta. I think Montenegro will have just enough oomph to push over the line. And again, Iceland, much as we've talked about it quite negatively here, I think between Iceland and Ireland, the latter appearance will benefit Iceland as opposed to Ireland. Yeah, I think I'm going with those ones.
What's yours then, Gav? What are yours 7?
Right, well, I've already backed Ireland not to qualify, so they're my first one. Then San Marino, then Portugal, Czech Republic, Israel, Switzerland, and then my last one, I think, will be Montenegro. I think there still might be a shock in there. I think Malta, has rightly been pointed out as being vulnerable. I think their past trades might just see them safe.
Mm.
They are doing quite a bit of travelling, aren't they, Malta? So there's lots of envelopes and briefcases.
Perish the thought.
Yes.
You might think that, Mr. ESCtips, we couldn't possibly comment.
There we go, and that's the level-headedness we need from Ewan. Anyway, I'd like to say thank you to our guests, Ewan Spence and Roy Delaney. Like me, both will be watching rehearsals in Vienna, so if you'd like to keep track of their thoughts, their respective Twitter names are, Roy?
Oh, hang on. ESC Apocalypse.
ESC Apocalypse. Ewan?
Ewan.
Yes, it's just at Ewan. So, yes, Ewan has quite a valuable Twitter name. Mine is ESCtips Gavster. Of course, if you disagreed with something they said, please feel free to tweet them direct. That's it from us from another week. We'll be back with 2 more guests to review this year's automatic qualifiers. So until then, it's goodbye from Ewan, Roy and me, Gavin Lambert. Goodbye.
ESCtips.com will return with another show soon. In the meantime, show us some love by following us and sharing this podcast with your Facebook and Twitter friends.
Until next time, auf Wiedersehen.